Chapter 2. Kira entered the gloomy woods of thorns just west of the fort. A forest so thick one could barely see through it. As she walked through it slowly with Leo, snow and ice crunching beneath their feet, she looked up. She was dwarfed by the thorn trees that seemed to stretch forever. They were ancient black trees with gnarled branches resembling thorns and thick black leaves. This place, she felt, was cursed. Nothing good ever came out of it. Her father's men returned from it injured from hunts, and more than once a troll, having broken through the flames, had taken refuge here and used it as a staging ground to attack a villager. As Kira entered immediately, she felt a chill. It was darker in here, cooler, the air wetter, the smell of the thorn trees heavy in the air, smelling like decaying earth, and the massive trees blotting out the remainder of daylight. Kyra on ground was furious at her older brothers. It was dangerous to venture here without the company of several warriors, especially at dusk. Every noise startled her. There came a distant cry of an animal, and she flinched, turning and looking for it. But the wood was dense, and she could not find it. Leo snarled beside her and suddenly bounded off after it. Leo, she called out, but he was already gone. She sighed, annoyed. It was already his way. When an animal crossed, he would return, though she knew eventually. Kilo turned on, alone now, the wood growing darker, struggling to follow her brother's trail. When she heard distant laughter, she snapped to attention, turning to the noise and weaving past thick trees until she spotted her brothers up ahead. Killing back, keeping a good distance, not wanting to be spotted. She knew that if Aiden saw her, he would be embarrassed and would send her away. She would watch them from the shadows. She decided just making sure they did not get into trouble. It was better for Aiden not to be shamed, to feel like he was a man. A twig snapped beneath her feet, and Kira ducked, worried the sound would give her away. But her drunk older brothers were oblivious, already a good 30 yards ahead of her, walking quickly, the noise drowned out by their own laughter. She could see from Aiden's body language that he was tense. And almost if he was about to cry. He clutched his spear tightly, as if trying to prove himself a man. But it was an awkward grip on a spear too big, and he struggled under the weight of it. Get up here, Braxton called out, turning to Aiden, who trailed a few feet behind. What are you so afraid of? Brendan said to him. I am not afraid, Aiden insisted. Quiet, Brendan suddenly said, stopping, holding out a palm against Aiden's chest, his expression serious for the first time. Braxton stopped, all of them tense. Kira took shelter behind a tree as she watched her brothers. They stood at the edge of a clearing, looking straight ahead as if they had spotted something. She crept forward, on alert, trying to get a better look, and she was weaved between two large trees. She stopped, stunned, as she caught a glimpse of what they were seeing. There, Standing alone in the clearing, rooting out acorns, was a boar. It was no ordinary boar. It was a monstrous, black-horned boar, the largest boar she had seen, with long, curled white tusks and 3 long, sharpened black horns, one protruding from its nose and 2 from its head, nearly the size of a bear. It was a rare creature, famed for its fishiness and its lightning-quick speed. It was an animal widely feared, and one that no one had wanted to meet. It was trouble. Kira, hair raising on her arms, wishing Leo was here, and also grateful he was not, knowing he would bound off after it, and unsure if he would win the confrontation. Kira stepped forward, slowly removing her bow from her shoulder, while instinctively he scrolled up. Reaching down to grab an arrow, she tried to calculate how far the ball was from the boys and how far away she was, and she knew this was not good. There were too many trees in the way for her to get a clean shot, and with an animal this size, there was no room for error. She doubted one arrow could even fell it. Kira noticed the flash of fear on her brothers' faces. They saw Brendan and Braxton quickly cover up their fright with a look of bravado, one she felt sure was fueled by drink. They both raised their spears and took several steps forward. Braxton saw Aiden rooted in place, and he turned, grabbed the small child's shoulder, and stepped forward too. That's a chance to make a man of you, Braxton said. Kill the spore, and they'll sing of you for generations. Bring back its head, and you'll be famed for life, Brendan said. I'm scared, Aiden said. Brendan scoffed and laughed deafly. Scared, Brendan said. And what would father say if he heard you say that? The boar altered, lifted its head, revealing glowing yellow eyes, and stared at them. Its face bunching up in an angry snarl. It opened its mouth, revealing fangs, and drawled, while at the same time emitting a vicious growl that erupted from somewhere deep in its belly. Kira, even from her distance, felt a pang of fear, and she could only imagine the fear Aiden was feeling. Kira rushed forward, throwing caution to the wind, determined to catch up before it was too late. When she was just a few feet behind her brothers, she called out, "Leave it alone!" Her harsh voice cut through the silence. Or wailed, really startled. "You've had your fun," she added. "Let it be." While Aiden looked relieved, Brendan and Braxton each scowled back at her. "And what do you know?" Brendan shot back. "Stop interfering with real men." Deepens crept towards them, but afraid and furious stepped forward. "If you are foolish enough to antagonize this beast, then go ahead," she said. "But you will send Aiden back here to me." Brendan found. "Aiden will do just fine here," Brendan countered. "He's better learn how to fight, aren't you, Aiden?" Stunned with fear, Kira was about to take another step forward and snatch Aiden's arm when they came rustling in the clearing. The boar edged its way closer, 1 foot at a time, threateningly. "It won't attack if it's not provoked," Kira urged her brothers. "Let it go." But her brothers ignored her, both turning and facing it and raising spears. They walked forward into the clearing as if to prove how brave they were. "I'll aim for its head," Brendan said, "and its throat," Braxton agreed. The boar snarled, opened its mouth wider, drooling, and took another threatening step. "Get back here!" Kira yelled desperate. Brendan broke a step forward, raised their spears, and suddenly threw them. Kira watched in suspense as the spears flew through the air. Bracing herself for the worst, she was to her dismay. Brendan's spear grazed its ear, enough to draw blood and to provoke it, while Braxton's spear sailed past missing its head by several feet. For the first time, Brendan and Braxton looked afraid. They stood there, open-mouthed, a dumb look on their faces, the glow from their drink quickly replaced by fear. The boy in front lowered its head, snarled a horrific sound, and suddenly charged. Watched in horror as it bore down to her brothers. It was fascinating thing she'd ever seen for its size, bounding through the grass if it were a deer. As it approached, Brendan and Braxton ran for their lives, darting away in opposite directions. They left Aiden standing there, rooted in place, all alone, frozen in fear. His mouth agape, he loosened his grip, and his spear fell from his hand. Sideways to the ground, Kira knew it wouldn't make much difference. Aiken could not have defended himself if he tried. A grown man could not have, and the bow, as if sensing it, set the sight on Aiden, aiming right for him. Kira's heart slamming burst into action, knowing she only had one chance at this. But she bounded forward, dodging between the trees, already holding her bow before her, knowing she had one shot and that had to be perfect. It would be a hard shot, and even if the ball were moving in a state of panic, it would have to be a perfect shot if they were to survive this. Aiden, get down! She shouted. At first, he did not move. Aiden blocked her way, preventing a clean shot, and as Kira raised her bow and went forward, she realized that if Aiden did not move, her one shot would be lost. Stumbling over the wood, her feet slipping in the snow and damp earth felt all would be lost. Aiden! She shouted again, desperate. By some miracle, he listened this time, diving down to the earth at the last second and leaving the shot open for Kira. As the ball charged for Aiden, time suddenly slowed for Kira. She felt herself entering an altered zone, something rising up within her, which she had never experienced and which she did not fully understand. The world narrowed and came into focus. She could hear the sound of her own beating, of her own heart beating, of her breathing, of the rustling of leaves, of a crow cawing high above. She felt more in tune with the universe than she ever had, as if she had entered some realm where she had and the universe were one. Kira felt her palms begin to tingle with warm, prickly energy she did not understand, as if something foreign were invading her body. It was as if, for a fleeting instant, she had become somebody bigger than herself. Somebody much more powerful. Kira entered in a state of non-thinking, and she allowed herself to be driven by pure instinct. And by this new energy flowing through her, she planted her feet and raised the bow and arrow and let it fly. She knew the second she released it that it was a special shot. She did not need to watch the arrow sail to know it was going exactly where she wanted it to. In the beast's right eye, she shot with such force that it lodged itself nearly a foot before stopping. The beast suddenly grunted as its leg buckled out from under it, and it fell face first in the snow. It slid across what remained of the clearing, writhing, still alive until it reached Aiden. It finally came to a stop, but a foot away from him, so close that when it finally stopped, they were nearly touching. It twitched on the ground, and Kirori, with another arrow on her bow, stepped forward, stood over the boar, and put another arrow through the back of its skull. It finally stopped moving. Kira stood in the clearing in the silence, her heart pounding, the tinglings in her palms slowly receding, the energy fading, and she wondered what had just happened. And she was really taken. Had she really taken that shot? She immediately remembered Aiden, and as she spun and grabbed him, he looked up to her as he might have to his mother. Eyes filled with fear, but unharmed, she felt a flash of relief as she realized he was okay. Kira turned and saw her two older brothers, each still lying in the clearing, staring up at her with shock and awe. But there was something else in their looks, something which unsettled her, suspicion, as if she was different from them, an outsider. It was a look Kira had seen before, rarely but enough times to make her wonder at it herself. She turned and looked down at the dead beast, monstrous, huge, stiff at her feet, and she wondered how she, a 15-year-old girl, could have done this. It went beyond skill, she knew, beyond a lucky shot. There had always been something about her that was different from the others. She stood there, numb, wanting to move, but unable. Because what she had shaken her today was not this beast she knew, but rather the way her brothers had looked at her. And she could not help wondering for the millionth time the question she had been afraid to confront her entire life. Who she was she? Who was she? Who was she?